Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Legacy. My name's Noah Mitchell and I'm the Senior Learning Experience Designer here at Legacy FM. So, I want to ask you a question. Are you a visual learner? Or maybe you're an auditory learner, so you learn better by listening to podcasts. Okay, not that. Maybe you're a reading and writing learner. So you prefer to learn by actually reading the material like in a textbook or some other book and maybe writing out notes and going that route. Okay, not that one either. All right, well, maybe you're a kinesthetic learner where you like to learn things by touching them and seeing them and manipulating them. All right. Well, the great thing is that online there are tons of resources if you search on Google for learning styles, especially the one that I was talking about today, which is called the VARK model. There's only one problem. Research shows that learning styles don't actually exist. Well, let me rephrase that. So instead of trying to break ourselves into these different boxes of I'm a visual learner and that's the way I learn best, and if the learning isn't in a visual format, then I'm not going to learn anything. What research shows is that that's not true. We're actually all visual learners. We're all auditory learners. We're all reading and writing learners, and we're all kinesthetic learners. What matters is something that's referred to as the multimedia effect. And so it's actually more effective to cycle the type of media in an instruction given the context. So some delivery methods might be better than others depending on what the content is. So if you're learning about geography, for example, well, obviously a lot of that particular module is going to be visual because you might have to look at maps of the world and try to see the delineations between countries or states or something like that, right? Whereas if you are learning about music, that's going to be an auditory. It's going to be more auditory than it is going to be visual maybe. So as you can already start to see, it just really depends. But don't fall into the trap of trying to pigeonhole yourself into one type of learning. Because, as I've stated earlier, learning styles simply aren't borne out by the research. Okay, so there have been several studies where they've taken groups of people who say, well, I'm an auditory learner and I'm a visual learner. And they've mixed those groups up to where there's 50-50 of each type of learner in the group. Well, one group gets exactly the type of learning style that supposedly is supposed to make them learn much better and perform much better on the tests, and the other group didn't. Well, whenever they tested these individuals in these separate groups, guess what they found? You can probably already guess. There was absolutely no difference in the way that they learned the material, nor in the way that they passed the test or how they did on the tests. I get it. We're all human. And I think for some reason, being human, we always want to learn more about ourselves. We want to reflect on who we are. And because each human being is unique, that sort of extends and projects itself onto our perceptions of how we learn. So because we're unique, we think, well, I have to be better at maybe visual learning, or I have to be better at maybe this type of learning because that's just who I am. It's not. You are absolutely a learner in all of those categories and even more. All right. So there's actually a video that I watched a couple of days ago that was the inspiration for this very video. So I'm going to drop the link to that in the post, and I want you to check that out if you get a chance. It's an awesome video. The guy who's leading you through everything has some really good information in there about debunking the learning styles myth, okay? And hey, just to let you know as a disclaimer, if you came into this really gung-ho believing in learning styles, you're not alone, and it's not a bad thing. But I personally, as a learning experience designer, and what teachers and other people in the educational domain and the learning and development domain are trying to do is just to let people know that you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself. You shouldn't limit yourself based on some perceived learning style or some preferred learning method. Because what happens is, unfortunately, some people will tell themselves, well, I'm a visual learner, but I have to sit here and watch this or listen to this podcast. But I shouldn't even try. I shouldn't even try to, because that's not my learning style, so I'm not going to learn anything from it. No, that's not the case. You can learn from it, and you will learn from it. In fact, instead of deploying different learning styles, most people, when they're trying to do memory tasks or some other type of learning task, they employ mnemonic strategies and other types of learning strategies that incorporate all sorts of different elements of these supposed learning styles. So I don't know. That's all I've got for you today. Take that with you and munch on it for a little bit, all right? And like I said, I'm going to drop the link to that video in the notes here. Definitely give that a watch if you have the time. But hey, if you don't, I hope this video was interesting and hey, that you learned something new. So have a great day. We'll see you next time.